well, hello everybody. We're back to doing our video podcast episodes.
Surprise.
Oh, Joel. I've missed the Joel. Don't forget to include the soundboard too, by the way. You forgot to do it for the bonus show, but thankfully you only used the hey, so that was easy for me to drop in.
I got it. Yeah, it's rolling right now. It's roll. I could see it. We got two lines here, two separate lines. We're good to go.
We good. But this is Wayfaring Strangers. We are back again to doing our regular episodes. It's been quite a few weeks, almost a month, I think, since we did episode 19. So if you're joining us, and have been waiting on this, thank you for your patience. I'm Jack. As always, I'm joined by Andrew.
Hi. I'm Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm well. How are you? I'm better than when we recorded last week.
Nicely done.
That's what I say.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I say to that.
Yeah, I sound less like I've been smoking my whole life, even though I have to clear my voice right now.
I thought you were going to do it on. No, you're tapping your mute button. I see.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we had this is what happens when you get sick for the first time in like 3 years, because
Ugliness.
Yeah, it's just your body's like your immune system's like, well, I've been on vacation, so what the hell is this about?
Yeah, it wasn't great, but we talked all about that last week. So
yeah,
but
we're back now.
Yeah, we're back now. We are back into the groove. I'm looking forward to either email. I think it's email next week, our bonus show, but I might do 2 next week. We might do an artifact and an email, because I'm feeling it. You know, are you feeling it?
What? Do you know how long our emails are? Guess what? Just because we don't do an email episode does not stop new emails from coming in. So it's not like we're like in the Predator movie with machetes, right? Cutting our way through the jungle. And guess what? In front of us, more jungle is being grown. It's growing rapidly. It's crazy.
And we love it. Don't you?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
No, I know what
we
you're
would
saying.
need to do like 12 email episodes in a day to catch up.
Not even that. We'd probably have to do like
2
mega if
episode.
not more. It's a lot. And I love it. But because that keeps us, that's like work for the future for us.
What we're going to do is just start answering them. Yes, no.
No,
it's
we are
be
never going
this
to do
one
that.
1,600 word email.
Yes.
And we talk about thematic imagery of The Last of Us and how it relates to our current political climate. And then you get through the end or whatever. It's like, no.
And the emails stop.
Right.
Yeah. Don't do that. We're not going to do that to you people. All right. But as always, if you have not gone over to iTunes to, give us a review, let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you think, which, by the way, we got a review from the lovely Jim Capron. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to just take time and let us know your thoughts, especially because last week I had a meltdown on at the beginning of our show, just about...
I don't know if it was a meltdown. I don't know if I would characterize it as a meltdown.
No, you've seen meltdowns. That wasn't a meltdown. That was like I'm annoyed with this.
Moderately agitated.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I have we contain multitudes, okay? But I want to read Jim's review real quick because it's wonderful and we love it. So on Friday, Jim Capron said, the best podcast for The Last of Us. Wayfaring Strangers is a must listen for any Last of Us fan. The Last of Us games are my favorite pieces of media ever, and it's so refreshing and wonderful to listen to the hosts, Jack and Andrew, discuss them with more insight, thought, nuance, and enthusiasm than any other podcast or YouTube channel that I've watched or listened to. Holy shit. Wayfaring Strangers is quite definitively the best source for discussions about the Last of Us franchise, and I can't recommend it enough. Jim!
You heard it here first. Jim.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Nicely done.
That's the rare triplicate of nicely
Hell yeah.
done's.
You got 3 Joel nicely dones. I don't even get that. So thank you. Thank you, Jim. Seriously, that again, it's just that balance, that one review wasn't great, but all the other ones for the most part are, and we have to keep sight on that. And again, all of you lovely, coffee patrons who have taken time to comment on the coffee and have a discussion with me. It was just overall fuck the haters, and that's where we're at.
That's it.
Yeah.
As human beings, our brains are wired to hang on to one negative thing 10 times more than
stupid.
The positive. So
It's dumb.
just luxuriate in Jim's review for a moment. Just,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we have a review coming from Mr. Doomsday Dave, but it's taking like forever to post.
D.
Yeah. He was like, ugh, I guess that's going to take a month. And I'm like,
Well,
I'm
now
sorry.
that you've called him out publicly
know.
at Doomsday Dave.
He's wonderful.
I know. I know. But
Yeah.
now people know that he's dragging his feet with a review.
No. He posted it. iTunes is taking a while.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave did the work.
At Apple.
Yeah. At
What
Apple.
the hell?
Oh my gosh. But yes, if you have not done that yet and you have just a little bit of time and a little love in your heart for us, we would greatly appreciate that. If not, just spread the word to your fellow Last of Us fan or video game fiend. We would also appreciate that as well. Today's main segment is Tommy's Dam, the hydroelectric dam specifically. Very excited about this. After we go through that, we will have our emotional toll and the would we survive question for the ages. But first, and Andrew just gets this smile on his face. I can't handle it. Andrew's joke corner.
I got a great one.
I'm so ready.
It's a little dark. It's a one-liner though, so it's not a question and answer. It's just a one-liner. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to deliver this with some gravitas.
Okay.
The gravitas that it deserves. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
The drama.
My grief counselor died the other day. He was so good at his job. I don't even care.
Damn. Damn. R.I.P.
I said it was a little dark. But that's the
that's-
sign of a true professional, right?
That's true. Yeah,
So-
I guess. Well, no, that's not. What? That doesn't make sense. If you are going to counseling for grief, it's because you need help getting through it. You need
He
to
doesn't
get
need-
through grief.
He doesn't need any help. He's that good. He's already
Stop.
past it.
No, that's not how grief works.
The he in reference being the teller of the joke, not me.
Yes.
So
Okay.
there you go. There you go. I told you it was dark, but
It was dark.
It laughed.
like
It made me laugh.
I like it. Would you like to read? So we have a listener comment from our last regular show from M_lost19, which is also wander on in the emails. Hello. Would you like to read the comment left to us on September 11th?
Okay, I'll do it. It's Lost19 as stated. It says, quote, "Okay, I absolutely love the rant about the Fireflies and their bullshit hospital, because you are totally right. That was some quack-ass rush together, we can create a cure bullshit. They were so focused on the idea of a cure, they didn't question the actual ramifications." End quote.
They were so preoccupied with whether or not they could
They didn't.
that they didn't stop to think if they
They should.
should.
Okay. I mean,
What is
I
this?
believe that was your position,
Yes.
right?
Vehemently, yeah.
So, okay, good. That's all I'll say. I believe that's the position you took on the Fireflies.
Yes. We also got an email from Chris Piasecki talking
Never heard
about
of 'em.
that. Don't you dare! Don't you dare besmirch Chris Piasecki. Hi, Chris. We also got an email that had a comment regarding that, but it was longer than that, so I'm going to save that for an email show in the future.
Look, everybody's coming for the Fireflies. I just want to. They could have had legitimate doctors. I'm just saying it's possible. It's
Where were
possible.
they? Where were they?
Jerry.
So we're gonna get into our episode today.
I'll take it as a win.
No, it's not a win.
All right,
Take the
well.
L. So we are in fall. Finally, my favorite chapter. Very excited to be here. Hope everyone is happy to be along. But at the start, Ellie is, in a sense, checking in with Joel. But Joel doesn't know what he's feeling at the start of this chapter. When you see the Jackson County sign, they have little conversation because he's about to see his brother and all that stuff. But from there, run up the road, go to the broken down car, and grab the El Diablo by the skeleton on the ground.
Diablo.
And I do love this weapon very, very much.
I forgot about this weapon.
What? How dare
forgot about
you?
it.
How dare you? How dare you besmirched Chris Piasecki and now the El Diablo. How dare?
So El Diablo is Spanish for the Diablo.
You're such a smacked ass. Anyway.
I'm going to get Andrew's joke corner in a couple times this episode.
Yes.
Sneak it in.
Just yeah. All right. You're going to zig when we all think you're going to zag. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
But run until you can't. And Ellie, so much for this road. And Joel, just follow the river. It'll lead us straight to Tommy's. Come on. Turn around, head back towards the break in the fence, hop down a bit, and this starts a convo, though it is not a dialogue prompt. So, Ellie, what happened between you two? Joel, what do you mean? Ellie, you and Tommy, you're not together, so clearly something went down. Joel, we just had a bit of a disagreement, that's all. Ellie, here we go. So what was it about? Joel, Tommy saw the world one way, I saw it the other. Ellie, and that's why he joined the Fireflies. Joel, your friend Marlene promised him hope that kept him busy for a while, but just like Tommy, he eventually quit on that too. Ellie, how was it the last time you saw him? Joel, I believe his last words to me were, I don't ever want to see your goddamn face again. Ellie, geez, but he's going to help us? Joel, suppose we're going to find out. Ellie, with, excuse me. Well, with or without his help, we'll get there. Joel, let's just keep going. So keep going down, down, down. From there until you are beside the river, but not directly beside the river. Run up a ways and then head off to your right to grab a collectible. And it is a Savage Starlight comic book, book 5, Foreign Element. Andrew, would you like to tell us what this one's about?
Sure. This one says, the victory of the travelers was absolute, and so too were the terms of humanity's surrender. The living flesh of every man, woman, and child left alive was claimed as the spoils of war. For how long can Daniela escape their terrible grasp? That's grim. That's way more grim than my joke. Just putting that out there.
It's all a little grim today. Look at the fucking weather. It's been raining for 6 days. Anyway, continue on up the river, past the trees, past the felled logs and the lavender plants that are all around. I think that's lavender. I don't know. I'm not a botanist. But as you come to the top, Ellie, whoa, what's that? Joel, right there is a hydroelectric power plant. Ellie laughs a little bit. A hydro who? Joel?
What?
It uses the river's movement and turns it into electricity. Ellie, how's it do that? Joel, look, I know what it is. I don't know how it does it. Which every parent's reply. I love it.
That is the equivalent of, that's like the Joel equivalent of like, I don't fucking know. Like that's, like little parallels there. Like, I know what it does. I just, it's great.
Yeah. But Ellie, Ari, how are we getting across? So off to the right of the stairs is a danger warning sign. Water level can rise rapidly with or without warning. And if you linger for a bit, Ellie will start whistling and catches herself off guard with a, whoa, sounds like a spaceship. It is quite a cute moment. But this is one of the most beautiful areas in the entire game. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson, Wyoming. It is very stunning, but seeing the dam, the buildings behind it, the boulders, the river rapids, it's just my perfect everything, people. And I needed to share that. But there are petroleum barrels below the metal staircase, exposed rebar, rust, etc. Everything you'd expect from a place like this. But run up those stairs past a sign that says, "Caution, no boating, no swimming, no wading." No fun. But use a shiv on the door, enter to a lighthearted, "There you go," from Joel and grab the supplies. There are parts, ammo, arrows, meds, and more depending on your difficulty level, of course. In this room, there are power boxes, a drill, various tools, a computer, a banker's box, cardboard boxes, buckets, toolboxes, and a tote bag. It was used for storage and power maintenance of some kind. Walk to the lever outside. So leave the shack, walk to the lever outside, roll it to the left, move half of the sluice gate or some sort of gate in place for them to walk over. But the other side still needs doing. So go to the edge of the cement structure. What's my words today? Go to the edge of the cement structure, jump into the water and down into the submerged building down there. Release the pallet and move it over to Ellie. There used to be parts underwater down here, but I swam all over and I didn't find any. So maybe I just missed them, but
Classic.
yeah, this time I couldn't find any. "Joel, I need you to," and Ellie cuts him off with, "I know, get on the fucking pallet." So usher Ellie across the water to the opposite side where she will hop up, and Joel says, "Go on, give it a spin." And she does. So I'm back to where Ellie initially jumped onto the pallet and then crossed across the full opened gates. But before we cross, let's talk about a few things. So this is the beginning of the fall chapter, like I mentioned, and though it is way too short, honestly, if the whole game was fall, I would fucking love that too. But it's absolutely wonderful. It's beautiful despite the rain where we are right now. But I just, leading up to Tommy, I felt like it was a perfect vibe for that. Like if it was just this perfect, basically what it looks like at UEC, if it looked like that, I would be like, I don't know if I should be like tense or what. But I think the rain adds a little bit of that element here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Joel doesn't know what he's feeling. And I think that plays really well. Good. I'm glad you agree. So,
I was, that was
know.
not that was just more of a statement that I agree with. Yeah, of course.
I know. No, I know. But I can't see you right now because I'm on the document. So I can't judge.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
So I could be doing all sorts of wacky do faces and stuff.
Don't do it. Wait, are you doing it?
No.
All right. All right. Talking point 2. So I wish we had chatted more in detail with Jeffrey Pierce regarding this part of the chapter specifically. Again, time would not allow for that. But you and I had, we mentioned that on our last episode, we had about 90 minutes worth of questions. And one of them was about the brothers' dynamic and what his thoughts would have been on that. So how Tommy seeing Joel again might have affected him or his performance, and how Joel leaving right after arriving so soon might have played into his performance or Tommy's emotional well-being. Because we haven't gotten there yet, but at the end of the ranch house chapter, Tommy looks very sad and dejected.
Of course.
It's that "I just got you back, I'm gonna fucking lose you again" kind of thing. And I think he knows the stakes of what this, the gravitas of the mission that they're on.
Yeah.
So obviously we did not have time to ask Jeffrey about that. But based on
we'll
the
just
things,
have to guess at what he might have said. Here we go.
Yeah. Like just based off of what he said, what do you think? What do you think he would have felt about that?
So,
and Jeffrey, we're not trying to speak for you.
Right. Of course not. I would never presume. Yeah. I don't know what the direction was there, but imagine yourself, right? I have a sister. You have a sister, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine if you moved or I moved, right, to
the other side of the country.
I'm talking, relatively, right? Let's say Spain, right? Like beautiful. Far, not a place you could even drive to. And I'm using that as an example to show to demonstrate the difficulty of the task. Like now, if someone lives across the country, you could just get in a car and drive there, right? You could take a plane, you could do all sorts of stuff. But like traveling in this world, not so easy, right? Even this distance. So we're talking like a travel time of weeks or months potentially, right?
Yeah.
So, and you hadn't seen them for, I don't know, years, however many. Do we know how many years it's been? It said, I feel like it said, but I forgot the detail.
I get the impression it was between like 5 and 8. I don't think it's like been a full 10 years. Like my headcanon is always like half of the pandemic was spent together, half of it apart.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just kind of where I've always defaulted.
So even so, that's 8 years, or that's a number of years, right? That is, okay. So, and then the analogy for my analogy, which is now being stretched really thin, is like, they're in Spain. They're like, I don't want to pay for international calling, so we're not going to talk anymore. And I've given up electronics or like whatever.
Yeah,
but you haven't seen or talked to that person, your sister, in years. Then they show up unannounced, no letter, no call, no nothing. And you're like, oh my God, it's been a minute, right?
Yeah.
And even if the parting was on not great terms, which it seems like it might have been, you're still appreciative and happy that they are there. And then your sister's here for like a day and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to Greenland.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And you're like, okay, bye. Like,
well, I mean, I know what you're doing with this analogy, but I don't think the stakes are high enough. I think if you just put it in that setting, in my mind, if I am thinking about my sister and I haven't seen her in an apocalypse, whatever, and I get to see her for a day and then she tells me about this crazy ass, quest, essentially.
sure.
And initially wants to put it on me, and then I agree to it, and then she takes her, rescinds her offer, then it's like, am I ever going to fucking see you again? Like, I didn't think that I was going to see you again, and I kind of accepted that.
Right.
Over the last few years, or however long it's been.
Yeah.
Because Tommy even says, like, I haven't even seen a firefly in years, so it's been a long time.
Of course.
So I think that would just be heartbreaking.
Yeah, well, my example is lower stakes, but you could imagine even the lower stakes version of that hurting like hell, right?
Yeah.
Taking away the fact that like you could die at any, you could open the wrong door and die at any minute. You could like open a door and like a bunch of spores go just in your face or whatever, any moment, right? So like, yeah, it's sad at its basis level of just like we've drifted apart and we haven't spoken even though we're family. And we reunited for a day, maybe 2 tops, and then I'm out. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Also, I'm taking one of your horses
to Greenland.
It would be like your sister. It's like, also, I need your car. And,
Yes,
and I'm having it airdropped over in Greenland or whatever. So you're like,
although I feel like in this scenario, it would be me on the quest. I don't get questy vibes from my sister, although she's almost 6 years older than me. And I always kind of in my head think that Tommy is like 5 to 6 years younger than Joel. So the dynamic would equal out, but
sure. Yeah.
But no, I feel like I would be on the quest. And
You're
I'd be the one
who
leaving
accepts
like
the quests.
I need your car.
Yeah. I get it.
Go to Greenland.
I'm sorry. I can't. It'd be too difficult to explain, but I need your car and I'm going to Greenland.
See?
So long, partner.
Yeah. It would just, I would have been interested to see or hear what Jeffrey had to say about that. And I hope that we can ask him questions like that in the future. Now that the first interview is over and that was more of like a preliminary thing, like an overarching, let's cover all bases sort of interview.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the specifics. We just take these questions and we bank them. Mm-hmm. And then it can kind of roll into I think it actually makes a little bit more sense to do it in the context of the second game because Tommy plays a bigger part in that. But then also that game is much more about grief.
Yeah.
And how one approaches it. So that actually, this is not grief. This is sadness. It's not grief. But certainly they are two sides of, or maybe the side of one coin or something like that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. All right. Last question before we move on to the next section. So there's an ease to Joel and Ellie's partnership now that wasn't present before. And it's not, as we know, it's not fully there yet, but it is the closest that we've seen it up to this point, of course, because, on a linear journey, this is where we're at now. But where do you think Joel and Ellie are with one another at this stage? And of course, I'm asking pre-ranch conversation.
Sure.
Because that's when shit gets real. But do you think, we have comments about not dealing with grief over Sam and Henry's death, which we'll talk about that shortly. But I just think that there's like a lot of unsaid, which is why the ranch house conversation happens. And it's kind of that culmination of emotions that have not been talked about. But I think that they were probably more comfortable around each other. Because again, we went from Pittsburgh and now we're in fucking Wyoming.
Yeah. That's the key. That's the key thing there is like
time.
There is a period of time that is just undocumented. So, and a long period of time. If you were to right now, with all of the infrastructure in place, walk from Pittsburgh to Wyoming, I would love to know. I'm actually going to do that because we can just totally do that. So
I told you. Here's a little side tangent for everyone who loves tangents.
Everyone who listens loves tangents.
Yeah. I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of walking across the United States. And it would take, I did research about this. It would take about 10 and a half months, go, and there is an actual route that people do this. And there's only a few people that have done it. Some people do it like every 4 or 5 years because it's just part of their thing. And I want to find someone to do this with me. I feel like we have to wait until our child, of course, goes away to school because I can't just be absent for 10 months of her life. But, and then she would just fly to meet us places when she's on break.
Where are you today?
Yeah. And I'll pay for her to come, of course. But I want to do this so bad. I think it would be such an incredible journey. And this happened, I had this in my brain before The Last of Us. But yeah, I think the general consensus is 10 and a half to 12 months it would take to walk the United States. And this is in an ideal world, where I can sleep at night in places.
All right, so.
Okay.
What does that shake out to be? That's no friggin' way. Hold on. This is great content, by the way. Okay. It's great content.
Great.
So Apple Maps weirdly says there are no walking directions, which is not true. But then I switched it to biking, bicycling. Bicycling, okay?
Yeah, we could do that too.
From Pittsburgh to Jackson, Wyoming, okay? 2,052 miles, right? Here's the bigger part of that. Ready? It's an 88,000 foot climb based on this route, because you're going straight through the Rockies on this one, right?
Yeah.
So
Joel and Ellie did not go through the Rockies.
Well, no, even if you're not going up a mountain, it is still an upward. Just as you get to the middle of the country, it's just tectonics have pushed the middle up higher.
88,000 feet? That doesn't make sense. Everest is 29,029 feet or whatever. I don't think that. I think that's inaccurate. Anyway, just
no. It's like this. It's like this because you're not.
So it's configuring every time you peak.
Every time
and then
you would go
adds,
up. Exactly.
Got it. All right.
Yeah. So it's not 88,000 straight up because you
You'd be in the
maybe
fucking
outer
space.
Yeah, you'd be in low Earth orbit. It's just, that is the climb, right? I'm sure there are little mountains and stuff you're hitting. Even in Pittsburgh is very hilly and, so that's, for a bicyclist, the climb is also something to factor in for your energy.
All right.
Google has walking directions.
All right.
It says it to walk.
Well, wait, how long for biking? You didn't even say.
Oh, 7 days and 11 hours.
Oh, that's not terrible.
Straight.
Oh, well. Okay, so that would be like 3.5 weeks with like sleeping and eating and
Correct.
Like, bodily functions.
It's just telling you it's going to take 7 days and 11 hours if you got on a bicycle and just kept pedaling continuously.
Yes, that's
Maybe
me.
it's possible. I don't know. I
don't recommend.
Maybe on a tandem bicycle where you take turns, so the person in the back falls asleep and the person in the front is pedaling still. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. If you got like an 8-person tandem bike, that's the ideal.
Would a tandem cut that in half? Because you have
You're
two
not going
people
twice
working
as
at it.
fast on a tandem. You know what I would do? You know those bicycles that have like a bar in the middle where it's like 8 people sitting, it's like 4 people on each side and there's a bar in the middle and you're all pedaling in a direction?
Let's do that.
Now, if six
Leisure.
listeners want to meet us in Pittsburgh and we'll rent one of those, stock it, and we'll just pedal all the way to Jackson. I think that would be
It'd take about
clutch.
2.5, 3 weeks. Well,
So put
maybe
in for the time
maybe
now
6,
off from work.
because we'll be drunk.
Look.
This is ridiculous.
That just takes it's just carbs to energy because you're doing so much work that you don't even have time to get drunk. The carbs literally burn off almost instantly, and the alcohol.
True.
All
All right. Walk.
7 days, 11 hours, bicycle, 88,000 foot climb because you're doing this shenaniganry all the way. The walk, according to Google,
The
walk is 1,759 miles. It's much more direct, right? It's 300 less miles if you're not bicycling.
Yeah.
However, it's looking like it's going to take 574 hours of continuous walking. And I did a quick little math here. It looks like about 24 days of straight walking. I think this also assumes a certain pace of walking also that is just not tenable in the apocalypse.
All right. So 24 days if you're a robot, which we are not. So
If you are, right.
let's double that. So then we're at 48 days, which is about 6 weeks ish.
No, here's what I would
would
quadruple it because look,
Yeah.
you're not walking 20, you're not walking, I don't even
12
think you're
hours a
walking
day.
16 hours a day, right? You'd be fucking exhausted. We got to hunt, we got to get a squirrel, we got to cook that
squirrel.
shit.
One.
A squirrel each. There's stuff that has to have a rabbit maybe for the extra fatty fats. 574 hours. Here's what I'll say. I could do this math right here for you. 574 divided by, let's say we're walking 8 hours a day, right? So it's 574 divided by 8. That's 72 days.
Okay. So that's a little over 2 months.
Yeah, that's a long time.
2.5 months. Yeah. That is a long time.
And that's the straight that exists right here as the world is fine, like sidewalks and shit and bridges that you could probably cross, I imagine. So I don't know how they got across the Mississippi. I just don't know how they got across the Mississippi. Did they get a boat?
Probably.
Yeah, when I want to cross the Mississippi, it's just right there's a bridge right there. I just walk across the bridge.
Are
There's
we doing
no
this? I
hardship
feel
at-
like we're doing this.
There's no hardship whatsoever for me. I just walk across the bridge that exists. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
They'd have to stop. Oh, one more small tangent about this.
We
They
are
would
10% through the episode,
I
everyone.
know.
10%.
They would have to stop. I mean, they'd have to replace their shoes or sneakers at least 3 times.
No, they're wearing the same ones. I could see it.
Which
I
is
played the game.
bullshit.
No, it's the same ones.
It's bullshit.
They are Nikes, and they last forever. I think Ellie's actually wearing like Chucks.
Yeah, Ellie always wears Chucks, which I have commentary about that in winter. But, and Joel wears his like work boots. But I just, no. The soles would wear so thick. Actually, again, when I did my research about walking across the United States, people that have done that, they're like, oh yeah, no, you're going to have to buy like 4 or 5 pairs of shoes or sneakers, like just because you are walking 8 to 10 hours a day and they are wearing down and your feet will be chewed to shit if you don't.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
All right.
All right, so
tandem beer bicycle.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. We
There we
depart
go. Let's
in
go.
1 week. Everyone put in for the time off.
6 weeks. Let's go. So cross the gates for now, for real. And this is an opportunity to be a good person or to be a piece of shit and get a trophy.
I did both. Or both.
Yes, I did
You
both.
could do both.
You could. You could. It breaks my heart though. But Ellie, hey, be careful crossing that thing. Joel, I will. And Ellie holding up her hand for a high five. Teamwork. So if you ignore the high five and you pop the left hanging trophy, Ellie will say, really? Just gonna leave me hanging? All right, I see how it is. It's just a high five. It takes like 5 seconds. I love just the talking below her breath.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Son of a bitch. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So now go replay that part so you can give that girl her high five right now. I will wait. Okay, good.
Okay.
So to which Ellie will say, yeah. But from here, go left, jump down, and head towards the burnt-out campfire and tent. Be sure to grab the supplies by said defunct aging tent, and then go over the downed tree and find a small grave with a cross and tiger stuffed animal atop it. So there's a prompt here. Joel, that's too small a grave. Ellie, I forgot to leave that stupid robot on his grave. What should I do with it? Joel, Ellie. Ellie says, what? I want to talk about it. And Joel, no. Ellie, why not? Joel, how many times do we need to go over this? Things happen and we move on. Ellie, it's just, and Joel cuts her off with, that's enough. And Ellie sighs and, all right, I'm sorry. So she crosses her arms after this, which is Ellie's go-to when she's upset or in a way with Joel. From here, there are 2 ways that you can go. So I'll loop through both just to keep it an honest walkthrough, of course. But if you continue from the grassy area, cross over the log again to Joel's let's get to Tommy's, and he sounds pretty desperate at this point, given the conversation they just had. Scale a few levels up until Ellie, I'm so hungry. And Joel, I know I am too. Ellie, all right, next squirrel I see, I'm shooting it. And Joel, let's get past this place and we'll scrounge up some food. And Ellie, well, if I starve, you're responsible. And head right towards the metal stairs and past a sign that says, extreme danger, water intake, keep out. Access beyond this point may result in drowning. The information has been provided to you from your health and safety by local government. Well, there is nothing down the steps, which would be the secondary way that you can go, the metal steps. Which again, after the high five, if you had just made a right, you would have gone up metal steps and then come out the same way that we just arrived. So don't bother. Go towards the little grave, get the whole prompt and the meaningful conversation, and proceed from there. There's a military safe zone sign bolted into the rock, as well as Fedra signs on these tall concrete walls. So this dam was clearly part of a quarantine zone of some sort, or a military, what am I looking for? Front? Installation, yeah. Turn back, go left, duck below a tree, past a construction vehicle called a Big Dog, which I love, which is the counterpart to, as we know, Caterpillar construction vehicles. Love that, Naughty Dog. Go to the opposite side of that for plant meds. And Ellie, should we go in? Joel, no other way around. Got to cut through the plant. And I love that plant, like actual plant life, meds are in the ground sometimes in this game. I think that's a great additive. So remember, we are working off of the Part 1 remake. I should have said that, like an hour ago, but here we are. Yeah. Go towards the Jackson County Hydro Dam Reservoir by the Federal Services of Parks sign and enter the little building. Grab the artifact, which is the North Teton Power Network, a Wyoming map from the wall. Also in this shack, there are a few other supplies, so be sure to grab them. There's a lot of office material in here. We have a laptop, telephone, light, computer, TV monitors, and radio equipment, banker's boxes, cork boards, dry erase board, shelving with ammo boxes on there, as well as a metal cabinet of some sort that was likely housing rifles or other weapons therein. There's a Humvee outside that smashed through the gate that is wasting away, along with dumpsters that are overflowing with trash. But another federal restricted booth, but this one's inaccessible, so keep on, approach the gate. But before we are thrown into a cutscene, let's chat. Let's chat a little bit. So Ellie's care for Joel, it shows here with some of her comments, and we love that. We love caring people in a dead world. That's all I have to say about that. So this next comment is going to be a little long, and I want to talk about this with you. But the small grave. So this is a big talking point. Clearly, the tent, the campfire, and the grave are all related, in my opinion. However, the tiger stuffy doesn't look all that old or weathered. So would it be possible for Jackson's citizens not to notice a stranger or a camper of, unknown origin with a child a few months or years back that lost said young child? So that's question one. Or do you think that the tent and the campfire are unrelated to the small grave? Beyond that, Joel and Ellie's conversation about things happen and we move on. So Ellie adopts this completely, this non-dealing with grief attitude completely in part 2, which is one of the biggest shames for her character. But the fact that Sam and Henry's death were likely brought up a lot in the interim between Pittsburgh and Wyoming leaves room for speculation about what sort of conversations they were having. In your opinion, Andrew, one, was the small grave related to the campfire in the tent? And 2, were there fights or silent treatments given between Joel and Ellie in this walk after Sam and Henry's death from Pittsburgh to Wyoming? Or was anything ever said?
Yes.
Don't email me.
We're making up for lost time where we spent 60 hours talking about hiking across the country. So the grave and the tent and Stuffy seem related.
Yes, I agree.
But it could have been one of those scenarios. You pointed out that the stuffed animal is not like completely destroyed or weathered or anything like that. It's in pretty good shape. And that could have just been a result of like, the parent has lost their child and this was the thing that the child loved. So now they're kind of like a token, something. This is what they're using to take care of in place of the child, right? But then either something happens that you're like, we need to move, we need to keep moving, move on, that sort of thing, and then just place it down. So it's possible that we just missed those people. That's kind of how I took that. Like they were there a week ago.
Yeah.
And then they had moved on for whatever reason. They were so close to the dam.
Yeah.
They were like right there.
Yeah.
Which makes it really, really sad.
Well, maybe they were turned away.
It's possible, right? But as we have seen, I think someone traveling with a kid, that's different. I think that's already weighted in a different way, right? So that's neither here nor there. We don't know what the rules for getting into Tommy's Dam or Maria's Dam. I actually should say. I know we call it Tommy's Dam. It's definitely Maria's Dam.
Fully.
So there's that. That's point number 1.
Yeah.
Point number 2, there is 100%. We still get it. Like we will continue to get it for the rest of the game where Joel is he just like shuts it. It's like, no. And he shuts it down. Right. So there are 100% moments of silence. I don't think it's fights. I think it's literally just what we experienced. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. We're just, that sort of thing. It literally happens later in this chat. I mean, we'll get to mild spoilers for something that happens in about 10 minutes when Joel gets shown a picture of Sarah. He's like, I'm good, and it shuts that down, right? Yeah. It's over. That is over here. It's in a deal with it later pile, right? Mentally.
And we'll talk about that too.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I feel. Like, I'm sure that this has come up multiple times over what we have determined to be at least 100 days of travel, right? It was 70 to 100 days of travel for these two from A to B, maybe more. There's no way that something along these lines hadn't come up. Doesn't have to necessarily be Sam and Henry. Could have been something related to their old lives or whatever, whatever it happens to be. And it's just like a stone wall. Like, no, we do not talk about this.
It's sad.
Endure and survive,
Yes, Ellie says that, but I don't think she necessarily believes it just yet. I think the the survival part of it is easier for her right now because she has Joel, but I don't think the endurance is quite as cultured.
Yeah. There is something to be said about like this mechanism of coping has worked for and served Joel well. That is not to suggest that it is the right way or a good way. It's just the way that has worked, right?
For him.
So like that has stopped him from having a complete mental break, which I imagine happens quite often in this world to various people, especially if you're one of the people who remembered the before times, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I have on that.
Keeping with feelings, how do we think Joel is feeling leading up to meeting Tommy again? So going back to his comment at the start of this chapter and his, I don't know what I'm feeling. I love thinking about this and pulling apart all Joel things, of course. And while we know that he is very good in shutting things down, I think that him saying, I don't know what I'm feeling is indicative of him actually feeling a lot, just not wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
So how do you think that he is feeling leading up to meeting, seeing his brother, hopefully seeing his brother again? He doesn't know that he's going to see Tommy at the dam. He thinks that he has to go through the dam and then he'll see Tommy and Jackson.
Yeah, that's the play. I would say he's probably like, Joel to me seems like a person. Sometimes you have friends in life where it's like, we might not see each other a lot, but when we do, we pick right back up where we left off. It's like I see this person once or twice a year, but it's like we never stopped. Certain relationships in your life you might just have that are like that. It might not be a universal truth, but like I know that I at least have that with a few people. And I think that's it. Like, I don't know what the feeling of time is in an apocalypse. I feel like it probably feels longer, right? Because there are fewer distractions, first of all, right? So you have a lot more time of quiet and introspection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if he is, I think that in Joel's mind, he is 100% sure that Tommy is alive, right? Like it just seems to me like he's like, yeah, he's my brother. He's tough. He's a survivor. I'm going to see him. And potentially hand in hand with that is also, I think we could just pick up where we left off, right?
Yeah.
There's no like big, I mean, they hug, right? I'm remembering this correctly.
Yes.
They hug.
Yeah.
And then he's like, damn, you got old. They throw a little bit of shade back and forth, which is fun, like very playful. And it feels like that moment right there is like they picked up right where they left off. Like, regardless of how things ended, I feel like that played out exactly how Joel was thinking it would in his brain. That's kind of how I feel about that.
I agree to a point. I think he probably still had that hesitation of, the last word somebody says to you, which we don't know could be the last word somebody says to you for real. I don't ever want to see your goddamn face again. That's cutting. That's hurtful. So,
Sure.
He mentions that to Ellie specifically, which means he has never forgotten it.
Of course.
And he has likely had moments throughout the years where, regret, or like, not that he acts on it, not, because you can act on regret where you just like fall into a pit and you're depressed and you just live there for too long a time. But I think for him, it was just like, fuck, and then he just kind of moves on to whatever it is going on that day. So while I think he probably expected a good reception, I think the reception that he inevitably gets was probably better than what he thought it would be.
Right.
I get a little bit of a pessimist vibe from Joel.
Yeah, I mean, he immediately warmed.
Yeah.
That's my only counter is it's like he seems like a man who goes in expecting all things, right? Like that's kind of the archetype we have. Like the guy, he's adaptable instantly, right? And potentially in relationships as well. So like, you know, like this is, you know, he certainly, I mean, yeah, if your sister or my sister was like, I never want to see your goddamn face again, of course you would remember that. Right. But also, I mean, I feel like that was like a literal lifetime ago in the timeline of the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't see somebody, if you're not living in the QZ or wherever with a person, you just have no contact. There's no like mail.
Yeah.
There's no phones anymore. There's radios, I guess, but like that, you know, I feel like
more
whatever made them mad and go their separate ways. That was like an older, different version of both of those people. So could, you know, this reunion feels like a fresh start, as it were. Yeah. For both of them.
I agree. Although we see later the conversation they have not as fresh of a start as we had hoped. Yeah. There's a lot of simmering there, but let's get to it. So we walk up to the gate, and this is where we're going to insert the first cutscene.
Don't even think about reaching for your weapon. Tell the girl to drop hers now.
Ellie, do as the lady says.
Hey. Please tell me you're lost.
Oh, we didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy.
Holy shit.
How you doing, baby brother?
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Let me look at you. You get fucking old.
Easy. It's going to happen to you, too.
This is Maria. Be nice to her. She sort of runs things around here.
Ma'am, thanks for not blowing my head off.
Would have been embarrassing, considering you're my brother-in-law.
We all gotta get wrangled up at some point.
Ellie, right?
Yeah.
What brings you through here?
That's kind of a long story.
Why don't we bring him inside?
Yeah. You hungry?
Starving.
I love that one.
Yes, it's great, wasn't it?
When the guy with the gun shows up.
So, thoughts on this cutscene. So, Seth, the bigot fuck from part 2, is now in part 1. He was behind Tommy on the left-hand side of the dam, pointing a weapon at Joel's face. Fucker. So.
You're not mad about it or anything.
No, not at all. But first impressions stick. But thankfully for Maria, thankfully Maria didn't shoot Joel, rather. And Tommy realizing really quick, even though we didn't see the realization dawn on Tommy's face and coming to open the gate for Joel. Tommy and Joel's hug is absolutely everything to me. I love very much these two brothers. And particularly this moment with all my heart. And I like, you know, we kind of covered all of this already, but just, you know, Tommy is the one to extend to Joel. Like, he's the one that goes and hugs him, which is very little brother-ish, Whereas I think if Tommy didn't do that, I don't think Joel would have been the one to hug him. I think Joel in his head might have been like, oh, a hug would be fucking nice, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no, Joel wouldn't have done that. Maybe a handshake,
Yeah.
maybe a fist bump,
Yeah.
maybe like a
Hey, man.
stern hand on the shoulder, but nothing. That's like,
Yeah.
he's only reciprocating
Yeah.
Tommy's hug. He's not. He does not seem like an initiator.
No, I agree. And not because he doesn't want to, I think Joel is a physical person in in the ways that work for him, but I think that hesitancy we were talking about is what would prevent something like that from happening.
Sure.
But like I said, like Tommy is just Jeffrey Pierce does such a wonderful job of inhibiting that little brother mentality of, oh fuck, my big brother is here, and just goes right for it kind of
Of course.
thing.
Yeah.
So I think that is just a very wonderful moment overall.
It's another again, it's something we're going to learn in kind of just a moment, but Tommy's life has changed dramatically too. So he is truly a different they're both different people, right?
Yeah.
And kind of on opposite ends, right? We don't know the recency of, like, I guess maybe my memory is garbage for the tiny details. We don't know the recency of him and Maria, right? Probably pretty recent, right?
I would say a couple years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that is a joining, an additive thing, right? Joel, on the other hand, has just lost somebody relatively, right? That he cared about, not someone he was married to, but like someone he cared deeply about. So they're out of sync in that regard as well. It's just interesting parallels that the game is setting up to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, beyond that, I always wonder, like, when you take the mentality that Joel and Ellie have to live and survive on the road and get through every single day, from what do we pack in our backpacks, what do we eat, what time do we eat, when do we stop to go to the bathroom, when do we wash our fucking clothes for the week, when do we sleep, where do we sleep, do we sleep in shifts, like all of these survival tactics that they have obviously gotten down pat by now. Tommy doesn't have to deal with any of that, or most of it has been gone for him for a very long time.
Well, yeah.
We see that, like, yes, he's been at the dam for a week, and there are bunk beds there, and a kind of like cordoned off area for living arrangements or sleeping arrangements, whatever, and certain rooms for like office or meeting or food or
Yeah.
But he lives in a house in a protected town, so, like, he can walk down the street and not fear for his life. Presumably, he can fucking go to the bathroom in a toilet. Like, these are all things that you and I don't think about because we have those creature comforts, like those basic necessities we still have access to. So I always wonder, like, not necessarily this moment in the game, but the end of the game when Joel and Ellie arrive in Jackson for good, how that period of settlement affected their psyches, or even Joel and Tommy's relationship. And like, did Joel sleep on a fucking ground for the first 2 weeks because a bed was just so foreign, like they're like, it's perfect that you brought up just how misaligned they are, because really, down to even the most basic things, they have nothing in common right now, aside from the fact that they are brothers.
Yeah.
And I think that's really evident as this scene progresses, but not at the start of it, because that hug is just so wonderful.
Hells yeah.
Yeah. So once you are inside the gate, Maria, false alarm, they're friendlies. We've been dealing with raids, lots of bandits in this area. Tommy, it's been quiet for a few days. Joel, what the hell are you doing here? I thought I'd find you in Jackson. Tommy, we're trying to bring the plant back to life. Maria, we had it working before one of the turbines went south. Tommy, we have electricity, Joel. Well, had. We'll get her running again. So once inside the gates and after the conversation concludes, you can have a little bit of a look around this particular space. There are tires, building materials, barrels, Seth walking back and forth on his platform like the fucking asshole he is as he guards the front gate, and another couple random people doing the same all along the boundaries, which is weird because we should have seen them walking up. But anyway, there are tanks of compressed air, presumably, tables with radios and backpacks lying about, tons of piping and gears. We have a 5-ton truck and all the trappings that one would expect in both a dam and a military installation. As you proceed forward, Ellie and Maria will walk together as Joel and Tommy walk together. And Ellie, no way, you guys have horses? And Tommy, we got a whole lot of them. Someone asks Tommy for help with a horseshoe situation, so he breaks off real quick to tend to that. Ellie and Maria talk here, and Ellie mentioned how she's ridden a horse before, and Joel says, when have you ridden a horse? And Ellie, Winston, this soldier back in the zone, gave me lessons. Maria, if you want, we can take him riding later. And Ellie, that'd be awesome. Pet the damn horse, people. Don't you dare omit doing that.
Couple pets you can do in this area.
Yeah, it's wonderful. But as you turn towards the stairs, Maria, Earl, why are you here? Weren't you supposed to head back this morning? And this random NPC named Earl talks about how him and the rest of the boys are being relieved, to which Maria tells him to go home to his family, but Earl says it's just a couple more hours on duty. Famous last words, because we don't actually know if Earl survives the battle that we are going to undertake. I know. But Maria tells him to take it easy, and then we proceed inside to a very small cinematic, of which we present to you here.
Maria.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're in the control room. Steve's about to start it back up. You want to come check it out?
I'd rather eat with Ellie.
It's my turn anyway. I'll go.
I'll come with you. Go with Maria. Put some food in you.
Joel. Come on, Ellie. Let's give the boys some space. I'm sending Tommy over. Stand by.
So quick thoughts on this. So Maria's a boss lady, and I liked her from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And Ellie immediately balking at Joel wanting to dump her off with Maria is definitely a talking point we will cover shortly. And we are on work orders now as Joel, per Maria, sending Tommy and you to the turbines. So, you get here and get to work. But before we do all of that, let's talk a minute. So I wonder, and I know that this is future forward thinking, but Tommy in part 2.
Future days? Is that what you're saying? These are future days?
Oh, no. I have fucking seen 2 people posting about, so they played, or the side note, on Twitter, somebody posted the whole clip of Joel in Ellie's garage playing Future Days for her. And then, like, fucking 3 hours later, I saw the clip of Ellie in the movie theater, in the theater, strumming and singing the first 2 lines of Future Days. And I was like, I'm done. I'm fucking done. It's been 2.5 years. I'm broken. Okay.
Someone should layer them so they kind of harmonize. Get on that, internet.
You do that. Oh, please do that.
I'll add it to the list.
Okay. Okay, but so I wonder if Tommy thinks back to that moment of seeing Joel again at the dam. And, we know that Tommy and Ellie specifically would wish for nothing more than to have Joel back and hug him and have those moments. But, grief is one of those fucking things. And I mean, I'm making a joke out of it, but it's not really that funny. Just a couple weeks ago, you and I were in Lowe's or Home Depot, and a song came on the radio that took me back to such a distinct moment and memory with my father that I cried. I literally broke down in the middle of a store and cried for 10 minutes. And like, you had to fucking console me. And it's just like, all of those things you don't think about. Like, I'm not trying to actively hurt myself on a daily basis, but when things prompt them, it's like it's just a slippery slope. So, grief is a very important part of this series, and I think it's a part of this series in particular that was mishandled greatly in part 2. And I know that this is not like, oh, shocking, breaking news, water is wet. But, you know, I've talked about this before, but I just can't help but my heart, reaches out for future Tommy. And if moments like this come to him in some of the darker times that he has in part 2 and after part 2.
I'm sure it does, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There are, and again, in this world, there are only so many actual moments that they've had together, right? It's not like I mean, I guess in Jackson, they lived together for a good chunk
4
of
years.
time. But
Yeah.
then, like, you're like, what are my memories of Joel before Jackson? Well, there was the one time he showed up at the dam, and then
He left.
Please stand by, boo, and then before that he left, and that was terrible. And then before that, like, according to Tommy's recollection, not great time spent together on the road. And then, it's like, oh, there was that time I watched his daughter die in his arms. That was something. And then before that, maybe like doing construction or whatever, so like the
It's
well
just hardship.
the well of memories is, I would say, probably mostly not great, right? So you would probably hang on to the good moments, like the reunion,
Yeah.
more so than the unpleasant ones that our brain tries to bury, So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would hope for that, but I think by the end of, we'll talk about that when we get to it.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So Ellie's insecurity, I want to just like dive into this a little bit, and her suspicions show very clearly when she's Joel to him wanting her to go with Maria while him and Tommy go off to the turbines or what have you. So Maria doesn't see it for anything other than allowing the brothers time to be together. But I think at that point, Ellie is already dealing with probably this fear that's been bubbling since she's been with him, months now, and concerning how I think she knows that he's always wanted to get rid of her at some point.
Rude.
No matter how much he has done to protect her, no matter how many times he has almost died for her, it's like, yes, the proof is in the pudding, but also I know this dude wants to just dump me the first chance that he can get. And this feels and is that first chance. Because Sam and Henry wouldn't have been a chance because they were all going in the same direction. And theoretically, Joel could have been like, oh, you got this? All right, bye. With Sam and Henry. But I don't think Joel trusted Sam and Henry the way that he trusts Tommy.
Right.
And Ellie knows that. So even something as small as go get something to eat with Maria is triggering those abandonment alarms for Ellie. And it's hard to watch.
I agree.
And we will talk a little bit more about this when that conversation happens. But
also, just remember, to her, this is I guess even to Joel, truly, but it's like, okay, this is a stranger. Who is this person, right? But just because she's a woman, Yeah.
And now you're suddenly family.
Correct. And again, so Ellie is, Joel, at least he's got Tommy as his anchor, but these are all new people for Ellie. It's like, you want me to trust this person that I literally just met? I haven't been able to trust a single human being since Sam and Henry, presumably, right?
Yeah.
So every other person we've encountered over the past 2 months has tried to kill us, So that's the kind of, it is a defense mechanism for her. I think it's a good one to have too. Like, I'm sure she's like very twitchy in this situation. Like, where are we? Who are these people?
For sure.
We're outnumbered. All those things that you would think of during an enemy encounter, right?
And then it also goes back to what I talked about a little bit ago of just what their life is like in comparison to Tommy and Maria's life. You know, Ellie has presumably eaten every single meal for the last, 3 or 4 months exclusively with Joel.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, no, go eat with her. And it's like, what the fuck? It's jarring.
Who?
Yeah. Yeah, like this is don't try to fucking get rid of me even for lunch, bitch.
You're
I just-
totally fucking with me.
I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't love it. So dumb.
Yeah.
Just cut it off.
That is so dumb.
There we go.
And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit this, and I might be repetitive later, but we know, and we learned this in the ranch house chapter, which we will cover in 2 weeks, but
How dare you?
we know what Maria tells Ellie. Again, we find out in the next subchapter, but let's gloss over it really quick. So did you expect Maria and Ellie go off to have lunch?
Girl talk.
Early dinner. Stop it. While Tommy and Joel do their thing. Did you expect Maria to just tell Ellie about Sarah right off the bat? Like even at this point, it almost seems surprising for it to just pop up in conversation. Or do you think Ellie might have asked?
I don't. So there is a synchronicity here that is interesting. Ellie finding out, but then also Tommy having the photo, going back to their home to get the photo.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think one led into the other. I think Maria just found out as a result of Tommy having gone back to do like his scavenger hunt kind of situation.
Last year.
I think he,
So hold on. You don't think, let's say Tommy and Maria have been together, which includes being married, for 4 years. Tommy goes back to Texas last year, back home.
Sure.
We'll talk about that shortly. You think that Tommy never talked about his brother or the death of his niece until like presumably 3 years into their relationship?
I mean, probably maybe mentioned it, but like, it's it seems like the past for a lot of characters in this, like the past is the past. Like, I believe that Tommy talked about his brother, present tense, like not I had a brother, assuming that he's gone or dead or something, right?
Yeah.
I have a brother. And that's about as far as that conversation went. I think he got that photo not because he really ever thought that he would see Joel again, but just as a reminder of like, that's my brother, right? So like, if I can't ever see him again, at least I have this photo to remind me of him, because I mean, I have to assume that this is the case where it's like, he was like, I kind of like, I don't, well, he says like, damn, you got old, right? Whatever, which is funny. And he says, damn, you got old, because his only frame of reference was the photo that he had from a long time ago.
First of all,
Right?
he says, you got fucking old. Get
Right.
it
Yeah. Well, okay. Right. Correct. But, looking at the photo that you see of Joel versus the Joel that we're controlling in this game, there's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, your memory gets a little fuzzy, between the time that they had seen each other last in person. He goes to get this photo. It's a reminder of Joel and Sarah. And then he sees Joel as he exists today, right? So I don't know so I'm trying to think about how to word this succinctly. Tommy at some point thought it was necessary to go back to their home to get whatever. I don't know what the mission was, right? But it was also like, let me stop by the house and just see, well, if there's anything left or anything worth having, right? And he finds a photo, which is great. And I think Maria, because it's no small no small distance to go from Jackson to Austin, right? It's not, that's a hike. And I think it was something that he told her. He's like, I wanted to see if there's anything left, and also just check in, see my brother's place. And that led into this conversation about like, well, this is Sarah. That was Joel's daughter, and she died, and So I don't know how else you bring that up in conversation, like unless you're reminiscing about your life before.
Yeah.
Or where were you when it happened? That kind of thing. I don't know.
I have two talking points, and one is the female factor in all of this, which you haven't considered. And I wouldn't be, and I'm not trying to put you down or women, but like if I was in an apocalypse and I met a man and he was like, yeah, I had a brother, and a niece, but she died, and then never said anything, I'd be like, can you fucking tell me the story, dude? Like what? Having experienced my own set of losses throughout the last 20 years or 15 years by the time they meet, whatever it is, that's how you get close to someone. Like if you're willing to be like, what does it fucking mean? I don't know. Let's get married anyway. Like you want to share your life, and that means all of the bad, all of the good, all of that. My second talking point is that I think Tommy is a lot more available to the past than Joel is, which is another dichotomy between what's going on in this situation. Like you mentioned, Tess versus Maria, and the living situations between Joel and Ellie and Tommy in his current life. I think Tommy willfully went back to Texas, and specifically their home. Again, we don't know the real reason, but it could have just been, I want to go home.
Sure.
I haven't been home in 19 years. And, maybe he went to, presumably Tommy was 22, 23. And again, I'm sticking with the fucking age that Naughty Dog told us Joel was before changing it in part 1.
What?
So yeah, I think, Tommy was 21, 22 at the time of the outbreak. So maybe he had an apartment. Maybe he was still living with their parents. I don't know. Again, we talked about that. There was never any pictures anywhere. Although in part 1, there are pictures of what looks like could be Joel and his father fishing on his dresser in his bedroom. Again, I don't know. We haven't covered all of those details yet. We will. But I think that's another interesting talking point, that Tommy is keeps himself open and available to talking about the past, and even in his quick fight with Joel, he's like, I got nothing but nightmares from those years. So he's still living with a lot of it and probably processing it because he has a roof over his head, a wife who can take some of that burden and share that with him, and help him process that, whereas Joel doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of talking points when it comes to why did Maria talk about this? And again, it could be Ellie prompted it, because we've talked about that. Like, do we suspect that Ellie thought Joel might have had a child at some point? And we were kind of like, yeah, maybe,
Yeah, I could get behind that. I like your, there is a, it reminds me, the difference between Joel and Tommy, there's a, not to get off on a tangent. We've had 0 tangents this episode. So no, there's a Buddhist saying, I believe it's Buddhist. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. When you're hungry, you have one problem. When you're fed, you have 99.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about having your needs met. So it's like, Joel's problem is that he's hungry, right? Like it's just let's get to the next day.
Yeah.
Tommy is fed. And so now you're able to do more. Your needs are being met from, like the traditional Maslow's hierarchy of needs or whatever. And And so, yeah, that makes a lot more sense that he would be like living in a place where he's like trying to process trauma or grief or anything like that, where Joel's never actually had the time to or maybe even the desire to do that sort of stuff. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would buy it. I would buy it that he had talked about it already. I would like it. I'm not like my opinion on how this came up could be. You could talk me into any of these directions. However, I do believe it was all prompted by that photo, right? Maybe it was so recent that the acquisition of that photo that it was fresh in Maria's mind. Maybe Ellie asked, to learn a little bit more about Joel. I don't necessarily see Ellie being a person to ask a stranger relatively like a stranger to her about Joel. But I could be talked into it. I again, no strong opinion either way, but it certainly feels like it's all tied to the getting of that photo. Which
I'm jumping very, very far ahead, like very far ahead.
Very far ahead.
To
game 3.
To
We're jumping to game 3.
No, but Ellie, so, at the end, right before the Tunnel East, and the Firefly Hospital. So again, we almost at the end of the game at this point. What? But Ellie hands Joel the photo of him and Sarah. But that's a little bit of a consistency hole, because Ellie's like, I stole this from Maria. But it was in Tommy's bag. So
maybe that was Maria's bag and Tommy stole it from Maria.
No, that's a weird thing. That's I wrote that down.
Maybe they got doubles. When we used to print photos, we used to get doubles.
Why would Maria keep a photo of Joel and Sarah? That makes no sense.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
it's just
they fixed it in this version. I haven't. Did they fix it? No. I haven't. Oh,
no,
all right. Well, I haven't beaten the game yet. I'm playing through The Last of Us Part 1 at a pace I would describe as
snail. It's been out over a month, Andrew.
Snail like, but appreciating the details.
Yes.
So can't take that away from me.
All right. Going into the next bit. So, Tommy, this will be the 6th time they've tried to get the turbines back online. Been here just a week, feels like forever. In a room that has bunk beds and a few men here and there asleep in them, walk towards one of those beds. Tommy, I got something for you. Last year I went back to Texas, back home. Most of our stuff is long gone. Most of it. And a dialogue prompts here. And Tommy, here, it's a little faded, but it still looks pretty good. And it's the photo of Joel and Sarah after she won a trophy at a soccer game. Joel looks so damn proud of his daughter in that photo too, and how they changed it to have him looking down at Sarah instead of at the camera in part 1 is an interesting choice. And we're gonna insert the little cutscene right here to talk about it.
Here, it's a little faded, but it still looks pretty good.
I'm good.
You sure? I mean,
I've said I'm good.
okay. I'll hold on to it for you.
Tommy, I need to talk to you privately.
Yeah, okay. Let me just check on my guys real quick. Come on.
So there, yeah. I mean, thoughts, he just... my heart, like I've said so many times before, because we can see just how little Joel has processed the death of his daughter. Which is, doubly heartbreaking because it's been 20 years. I do think Tommy looked a little taken aback by Joel's reticence to take the photo.
Yeah.
And then Joel immediately just kind of he moves on from that, but not really, because he says, I need to talk to you in private, which is indicative enough that it sent a pit in my stomach. And we know, again, all of these links, everything is just strung together so beautifully, even though it's very sad.
Yeah.
Joel sees this photo of him and his daughter, and it kind of affirms, I have got to get rid of Ellie. Like, I cannot put myself through that again. I won't survive it again. Brother, I need to talk to you.
Yeah. Brother, we got to talk.
Yeah. So, Tommy, of course, acquiesces and passed the welding masks on a large box, coolers, overflowing trash cans, electrical circuits and boards, lanterns, tools, pump jack with a pallet and barrels on top of it, and head up the steps with Tommy. But instead of following Tommy and going to the right, make a left and go into a little storage room / office area. There's a small couch in here with a desk and a chair, filing cabinets, and a few comfortable, lounge chairs.
Mhm.
Also lots of trash. Shelving with a ton of boxes on it, a TV, pictures on the wall, like real person pictures on the wall, a clock that stopped at the time 12:18, as well as some books, which are the following: Rise Without Time, Union of Heaven, Desert Gold, Guests of Fond Memories, Criminal Without Faith, Age of Nature, Comforting the Dark, and just lots of repeats of those.
No baby shadow.
No Baby Shadow. They
What
got rid of
the
it.
fuck? Shit.
Naughty dog, you done us, bro. But there are a few supplies laying on the desk, as well as blueprints for the turbines. Leave that room and pass the generators, welding masks, scrap wood, and piping, and go to what is that? I don't understand what I wrote there, but just go
Go
outside.
to tell me outside.
I don't know what that was.
I don't
But
know.
Tommy, I don't know what you heard, but you should see the town. We're over 20 families strong. We've got crops and livestock. Remember how we thought no one could live like this anymore? We're doing it.
Mhm.
So Tommy comments on a man fussing with a large branch stuck in a turbine, telling him he should give up. The man is adamant and continues on fighting with the branch because he's been going at it for way too long now. Walk to the other side of the bridge and approach the woman who is standing guard there with a rifle. And the woman, "You're new around here." Joel, yeah. Or Joel says, "Yeah, Joel, Tommy's." And she cuts him off with, "Brother, word travels quickly around these parts." Joel, apparently. And the woman, "I kind of see the resemblance." Joel, "I see." Woman, "It's a compliment." And Joel laughs, "It's a pleasure meeting you." Woman, "You too." Continue
Mhm.
to follow Tommy from here. And side note, you can go down a level and there's a bunch of bricks and bottles and such, but nothing else. It's more for just fighting and being tactical if you're on fucking grounded or some horror like that.
Mhm.
Joel, what do you do for protection? Tommy talks of the adult guards that are posted along with the electrified fence, which is presumably cut off at current. Joel, still gotta deal with infected though, right? Tommy, who doesn't? It's the world we live in. Joel, well, maybe it don't have to be. And Tommy laughs. "You sound like Marlene." And just do wait, Tommy.
Oh, shit.
But once you're off the bridge area, cut a sharp right, grab the ammo lying on a high voltage power box, and then turn back around. And Buckley the dog, he's a good boy. Pet the doggy. And Joel even says, "That's a good boy." And we love Buckley. We love Buckley. And Buckley makes it to part 2. So grab the spare parts.
Buckley's the true grounded survivor.
He is. Grab the spare parts lying on the military box and anything else by the forklift, and then head inside. And Tommy, these two geniuses are going to bring this plant back to life. I wrote planet. All right. I
Mhm.
don't think just two men, but all right. And the
Maybe.
guys, what?
Maybe.
Ma-
We don't know.
Okay. But men, we think we got it this time. And Tommy laughs. And the guys, "You don't believe us?" And Tommy, "I didn't say that." And the guys come back with it. "I'll bet you $1,000,000 it works." And Tommy, "Sure, make it 2. And then the men are like, "We're almost ready. Just need to finish putting the shield back on." Tommy, "No rush." So there are lockers with military bags and all the power boards and buttons you'd ever need in one space, along with one bird outside that won't ever shut the fuck up during this scene. I don't know
Hmm.
if anybody paid attention to that, but I could not stop hearing it.
Shut up.
Grab any supplies plus the upgrade manual. Andrew, would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, it's chapter 8, improved duration of smoke screens - chemistry. So it has no effect on my playthrough. I do not use these, but here we go. Through proper construction techniques, the effect duration of smokescreen cover can be improved. Incendiary smokescreens are composed of a few components, and it's illegible beyond this point.
Unfortunately. Before following Tommy out of the control room, be sure to cut a left towards the workbench in the corner, otherwise it will be destroyed and you can't access it after the fight. So do your thing, and while that happens, let's chat. Let's
Chit chat, chit chat.
So, Tommy seeming surprised by Joel's refusal to take the photograph. That was hard to see. How do you think, and again, we've talked a lot about this, but just to keep it quick, and I know what your answer is going to be, but how do you think Joel has dealt with Sarah's death through the years?
He hasn't.
That's the answer. He has
No.
not at
the
all.
answer is no.
He has not at all.
It's one of those things. I think it's probably like you could abstract it away to like, I think that was a thing that happened in a movie I saw once, like the movie of my life, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing that people sometimes do. It's just a
Disassociation.
yeah, it's an out of body type experience for trauma. Yeah, I truly, I mean, it's a funny thing to say, but I really think that's true. He just has not. No, like,
No.
I don't. We see Joel. I don't think he ever had. I don't think he ever did. For the remainder of his life, I don't think it's ever been a thing that he has addressed. He just kind of keeps it in.
Yeah.
So.
I think he gets to a point where he can talk about her. Like she existed because she did, and he loved her and loves her still. But I don't think, like Ellie knows what happened to Sarah and knows that, oh, she liked hikes and probably knows that she loved soccer. And that, and later on Joel talks about how he had her when he was very young and didn't have the opportunity to go to college or whatever, so she knows these little bits and pieces of Joel's life, but I don't think he ever sat down like with someone and fucking cried.
No.
Like, I don't think that ever happened. And my next question was, in 20 years, how has he coped with Sarah's death? So we know that he hasn't dealt with it, but how has he coped with it? And I think, you already kind of answered this with compartmentalization and disassociation.
Yeah.
If I just see it as someone else's life, then it's someone else's life. It's not my own.
It's the equivalent of putting your fingers in your ears and la 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 la, I can't hear you.
Well,
it's
that it is, but that's like deep immaturity.
I know. I'm the adult equivalent of that. It is not out of sight, out of mind, right? It's that's the whatever, however you want to, whatever dodging he is doing, whatever bobbing and weaving he, when he gets a feeling about that, he's able to focus on this other thing or whatever. That might be why he puts himself in kind of perilous situations too, because feeling this is better than feeling that, right? We knew that he was, like, by his own admission, on both sides of it. From Pittsburgh, he said he was on both sides of it. And that leads me to believe that potentially, Joel was an unsavory character in some point in his life, right? But feeling that, even if it's a bad feeling, whether it's a bad feeling or a feeling of I just survived, or some sort of exhilaration, is taking the place or forming a shell around this other feeling that he doesn't want to feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Narrowly escaping from a Humvee with a mounted turret.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't have to feel that other thing because I just survived that. And I could just, I think the way you process is backwards. So it's the most recent thing that happened to you. It's like, I'm just getting over that Humvee thing. Then I got to get over the rest of Pittsburgh. Then I got to get over Tess. Then I got to. So it's, but if he puts enough between Sarah and now, he'll never get back to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's so sad. It's so fucking sad. And and of course that plays into right now where he's at with Ellie and the Fireflies and Tommy and everything. So, but did you suspect at this point that Joel would want to hand Ellie off to Tommy for the remainder of the Firefly quest? Were you expecting him to still go through with it at this point?
I would have to put myself back in the shoes of when I first played this. And I thought that the setup for this would be a kind of a replay of what we saw with Sam and Henry, where like Tommy and potentially someone else would join us for the remainder. It was kind of a blindside for me. I remember distinctly like Joel's like, I wash my hands of this, right? Like that was like, I was like, what the fuck? Like that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
And that is because they've expertly woven a tale where we care about these two people together, right? It's the last of us. Yeah. These two. And so that was, I did find that to be, I was like, God, what the, so it needed to actually come to a boiling point with them over how they feel about each other. Because up until this point, they had been warming, right? It is warming. And then we needed conflict in order to
push it over the edge.
Yeah, for truth to be revealed, right? A truth to be revealed, I should say. Not, that's where it is.
I almost kicked up. I'm wearing, I look nice up here, but I'm wearing pajama bottoms.
Hells
and
yeah.
I kicked my leg out and I was like, no.
We're gonna. Yeah. Did you kick your leg out? I'll cut to it in the video.
It's a slight. See.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
My Christmas jammies. Anyway.
The jams.
Yes, but I agree with you. It's just such a like convoluted situation at this point. And if you consider what the game would have been, with Joel just.
Well, see you later.
Bye, kid. Like, bye. That would, oh my God, that would have gutted me. And I wouldn't be surprised if, because they would, of course, walk that back. Like, that is something that they would need to walk back because this is the last of us, like you said. It's Joel and Ellie's journey. So even if Ellie didn't run away, and I know I'm like venturing into like fanfic territory a little bit, whatever, but even if Joel and Ellie didn't run away and Joel, got his supplies and went on his way, and Tommy continued the journey, I feel like Joel would get maybe like 20, 30, 40 miles and then be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, and then just like loop back around and head towards UEC and meet up with Tommy and Ellie, and again, that still would have been an incredible game. Like,
of course,
it is incredible the way that it played out, but that would have just added that layer of angst that, I love. But anyway,
oh, I love it. I love it.
But so pivoting to this woman on the bridge.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm going to be mean. I'm going to fucking be mean. She's Pixels. I can be mean.
You're totally fucking with me.
I am not, Ellie. But if this was supposed to be Esther.
Surprise.
No, you take that back.
Nicely done.
Not
Nicely done.
No. Stop it. If this was supposed to be Esther, like, get the fuck out. Like, I'm not trying to.
1 second. You should explain who Esther is, because
I will.
Up until you had explained it to me, I didn't know because that person was removed from the narrative.
Yes. Okay. So long story short, there was talk in during the development of part 2 that Joel was going to meet a woman named Esther, and there was even concept artwork where he got married. They got married.
Yeah.
Which that's one of my favorite artworks because he's like just like sitting down. He's got his wedding ring on and he's just like chilling and I fucking love it. But
there we go.
Yes, I agree. And Esther looks so pretty and just, I would have loved to. That's one artwork. There's another one where they're also at a dance, but then that came out later that it was supposed to be Abby, like infiltrating Jackson, and basically Abby was older and supposed to pretend like she was falling in love with Joel.
Oh, a provocateur.
Yes, a saboteur rather. But that all fell apart. But Esther in essence was supposed to be Joel's love interest.
Joel's wife. My wife.
Mm-hmm. Yes, his love interest, potential wife, like just there was talk that she would live not in Jackson, but somewhere, within like a a 1 to 2 hour horse ride or whatever
Sure.
at a different
She
development.
was an outlander.
Yeah. And so they could only see each other when they saw each other. And then and that was actually a prompt for Ellie to start doubting Joel again in part 2 and what he told her at the end of part 1. Like, I can really fall deep into this hole. But
We just needed the setup of
Yeah,
who
yeah,
this
so-
person, and we met her. Now we meet her.
no,
This
that's
is
not
her.
Esther. That nasty bitch ain't Esther. So she looks like Gabe from The Office. Who is one of the most unattractive human beings on
How
earth.
dare you?
And I'm sorry, if you have like Gabe thirst, please raise your standards. But all I'm saying is, Esther, who was supposed to be Joel's love interest, this woman is not attractive, like not at all. And I'm not saying that a 10 needs to be with a 10, but a Joel's a 10, and he deserves more than fucking knockoff woman Gabe. That's all.
Knock off woman Gabe. That's tough.
I'm just saying.
Sorry, Zach Woods. Sorry, Zach Woods. I
Whatever.
apologize on behalf of my co-hosts for the slander.
Esther was she was, okay. And I'm not saying this just because I am completely in love with a fictional character, but like, she was little. She was a little brunette. She looked like just cute. And I'm like, yeah, see, that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yes, I get
Do
it.
you see me on screen right now?
Yes,
or
I
you got the notes up?
I see you.
Hmm.
I know. I'm a little brunette, so of course I want to identify with that. But anyway.
Her name was Esther Jackie.
Anyway, oh my God, I just wanted to comment about that.
Fine.
I even took a VP of her because I was going to slam her on Twitter in the bad way. And then I was like, no, I'm not even wasting my time on this.
But
I
get nothing.
But I did it here instead.
Fair. Yeah,
So-
well, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Yes. Okay. Last comment. I love this entire place. I would have loved to have been here longer. And I feel like we say this about everywhere we go, minus the sewers. I was happy to be done with that. But I do. The dam, all of the buildings, just the industrial, like cold clinical, surrounded by this beautiful Wyoming. It's one of my favorite places, far and away. Continuing from there, after the workbench, head out and down the steps on your left. So watch the shield lower first onto the turbine, and the turbine start from across the way. And Tommy gives the go ahead, and bam, let there be light. And Tommy, God damn it, we did it, boys. Nice work, boys. Someone get on the phone and give Maria the good news. He says boys a lot. So it is what it is. It's Tommy's
That's how
thing.
you refer to the team.
Boaz. So Tommy, you see that? And of course, he's yelling at Joel across the way. And I don't normally go this way, but I'm like, I know I'm going to go into that storage room down below. So why am I going to follow Tommy and then have to come all the way back? So
Yeah.
I didn't do that. And Joel says, that's pretty impressive. And after...
Yeah, Tommy's like,
You see that?
it's like from...
I know.
Joel, what the hell are you doing over there?
And Joel's all like, same tone. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Tommy didn't hear him.
Joel's over like picking up scraps and pieces of rag. He's like,
That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
what? Speak up, God damn it.
Oh my God. But yes, after that very distant exchange, continue down the stairs and enter a room below the one you were just in with the workbench. And there's parts, ammo, and a Firefly pendant. Ryan Oliviero. Yeah. Number 000194. So interesting that Tommy hasn't seen a Firefly in years, and yet there's a Firefly pendant in this dam. Things that make you go, Anyway, if you walk outside, you can see a lovely view of the water spilling over the dam. I just hit my mic, I'm sorry. And Joel will get annoyed at you for getting wet, which I thought was pretty funny. On the way back out, you will pass a lot more of the same in this room. Oil jugs, tools, benches, electrical panels in boxes, and wash basins and more. Go out to the main floor where the turbines and all of the men are working, past all sorts of electrical panels, tools, and a lot of the industrial equipment that one might find in a place like this that we've covered quite a bit now.
Yeah.
Head to the office at the end of the room where Tommy is standing in another control room of sorts. Enter, and boom. big cutscene.
It's quite the crew you got here.
Yeah, they're good men. This place gives them a second chance. Gives us all a second chance. So why'd you leave Boston?
I've been on quite the adventure, little brother.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
Well, go on then.
She's immune.
Immune to what?
I've
Oh,
seen
come
her,
on.
I know I've seen her breathe enough spores to take down a dozen men. And nothing. Now, I wouldn't have believed it neither. But I can show you.
All right. I'll bite. Why bring her here?
I was supposed to deliver to the Fireflies. The way I figure they're your boys. You finish the job, you collect the whole damn payment.
I haven't seen a Firefly in years.
You know where they are. Now, I'm not asking for much, Tommy. I just want some simple gear, enough to set me on my way.
What makes you think I'd do this for you?
This isn't for me, Tommy. This is for your damn cause.
My cause is my family now. You ain't talking about some walk in the park here.
Jesus, boy. Have Maria get some of your born-again friends to do it.
They
but
got families too.
Tommy, I need this.
You want some gear? Sure. But I ain't taking that girl off your hands.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
Repay you.
For all those goddamn years I took care of us.
Took care. That's what you call it? I got nothing but nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me.
It wasn't worth it.
I bring you the cure from mankind, and you wanna play the pissy little brother.
We ain't back in Boston. You lay your hands on me again, it won't end well for you.
The hell is that?
We're under attack. You still remember how to kill, right?
Yeah.
So, some thoughts on this cinematic. Tommy seems pensive at first, as if he knows what Joel might be coming at him with here, but not fully. And I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Not fully. Tommy asks first, though, about why Joel left Boston, which is, a natural question that he's probably been burning, wanting to ask. And we find out that, he's been on a journey and everything has to do with that little girl, which is a very iconic line in the Last of Us universe. And I do know, as Jeffrey Pierce said on our interview, it is one of his favorite lines. But as this scene progresses, like, Joel looks so fucking tired. I don't know if you noticed, but he just looks so fucking tired in this whole scene. And meanwhile, Tommy's like fresh as a daisy. But again, it goes back to...
I got a full 8 hours last night, Joel. How about you?
Yeah.
Joel's like, 3, maybe.
And they were soggy because it's been raining. But yes, Joel using Tommy's cause on him for Tommy to accept the mission of Ellie, when we all know what's really going on here, is difficult to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's manipulative fully, but it's like, this is your cause, not mine. Take her. But Tommy says that his cause is his family now. And he says this to his actual fucking blood brother, who is his family. And that's hard for me. Because he's like, my cause is my family. But he's excluding Joel from that. So all of the good vibes we talked about at the start of this chapter, clearly it's not all good. And then again, we glimpse a little bit more of Joel's desperation. And I think it's very abundant and apparent in his eyes throughout all of this, especially as tensions begin to rise. And there's a lot unsaid between them. And, it comes to shoves. And Joel just leaning into that innate, blind, like, I don't want to say rage, but that like violent reaction that he has because of the life that he is living. And I think Tommy knows that. And just like, if you lay your hands on me again, it will not go well for you. But he gives him that one, which I don't listen, Tommy, I love you, but you'd never fucking win. And everybody knows
scrappy
that.
though. He fights dirty. You know what I'm saying?
I don't I don't think he does. I don't get that vibe either. But they are saved, they're saved by the bandits this time. However, we never actually see them talk through things in either this or part 2, and that makes me big sad. And by things, I mean just like their history, their relationship, the years that they were together that we don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation with Ellie, his marriage with Maria, like we never see these brothers fucking talk about anything other than Ellie in 2 conversations. And while I know that is The Last of Us, it still bothers me a little bit. Okay. Yeah. And then Tommy's still, you remember How to Kill, right? And Joel's low, yeah. And I mean, again, I just cannot stress how much I want to know more of their story, but it makes me laugh because as Joel, we've killed like 2,629 people on this journey thus far to Tommy. And he's like, you remember How to Kill, right?
Like, I killed everyone in Pittsburgh. Every living human being in Pittsburgh is dead. Just want to let you know.
Yeah.
The
that's
whole
true.
the whole place is clear now, as far as I'm concerned. We can remove to Pittsburgh. It's clear.
Let's go. But yeah, so head back out to the main room into the fight. Before we do that, let's talk. So electrical power in a time like this would be precious, which makes the whole bandit situation absolutely consistent. And I love cohesiveness, Naughty Dog. And that's all I wanted to say. Because if bandits know, like, oh, this fucking place has power, they're going to flock to that. And they're going to fucking try to overthrow it and steal it. But thankfully, Jackson and its citizens seem to have things together to shut that shit down.
Right.
So
you've got some grenades. We've got a Joel. It's like we've got a Hulk.
Yeah. Calling Joel a Hulk. All right. Do you think Tommy realized? And this is going back to the cutscene, the cinematic. Do you think Tommy realized what was happening in the initial conversation with Joel? That Joel had gotten too close to Ellie and couldn't run the risk of losing her, like he lost Sarah? Or do you think that finally occurs to him after the combat sequence and what he glimpses of Joel and Ellie talking?
Probably had an inkling of it before the fight, just as a matter of, again, we're expertly threading the needle here, the photo of Sarah, right? And how he was just like, nope, I'm good. Same deal. Just because nobody says it doesn't mean that the characters aren't thinking it or that the actors aren't bringing that into their performance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think it's very likely, and again, we could ask in our next, version, our next interview with Jeff, but we're very fast friends. What his motivation, or because he admittedly to us said that he's method. He is going for the truth of a scene, and the truth of the scene is obvious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so whether or not he was allowed to play that up, I think it's a between the lines situation for sure. Like the photo and the outright rejection of the photo, followed by the conversation where it's like, you need to do this for me, right? This is your cause. It's easy enough to put 2 and 2 together to be like, this guy does not want to lose this girl.
Yeah.
Or doesn't want to be responsible for losing this girl, like he feels the responsibility towards his daughter. So I think that's pretty evident in the performance of Tommy. So I could be wrong, but it seems like a thing that you could draw on to make it a more convincing and more powerful performance.
I agree. I also think it's a little bit of that like where the fuck does he get off mentality too from Tommy? Because, you know, while he knows Joel's history and he knows Joel's pain to a certain extent, because he's lived alongside that with him for presumably enough years to see him not cope or deal.
Yeah.
They haven't been together for so long, and now he just rolls into town and he's like, I need you to do this like thing for me. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So I think that's, you know, in a basic sense, it's like, where the fuck do you get off? Like, I'm gonna put my life at risk and potentially like lose my family for you. I don't know this girl. I don't know. I don't know if I believe what you're telling me about this girl. I haven't seen you in fucking years, and you want me to just throw that all away? Like, I know what's out in the world, and you want me to fucking chance that over someone I don't know because you need to leave? So
Yeah. Well, that goes back to something you also said about when he says, like, my priority is my family.
yeah,
It's exclusionary of Joel. Like, you haven't been here, man. And the first thing you do when you get back is ask me for, like, the biggest favor a person, you know, like, leave the community, the family, the safety, the what we have established here.
yeah,
The first thing you ask me to do after having not seen you for years is like, why don't you just take this girl to the Fireflies for me?
yeah.
I can. I got a thing. I have a dinner. It's back in Boston. I gotta go.
Ew. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, of course I always side with Joel, but I think that was really kind of like a short-sighted assumption on his part to be like, oh, my brother knows what I've lost, and it's safe to assume that if I convey enough emotion that I'm comfortable with, which is more than I'm comfortable with already,
Yeah.
he'll get it and he'll just do it for me because he's my little brother. So it's like there's a whole lot happening between them.
Yeah.
And I think they both see through each other, but I think Joel is just a bit more clouded by his, like, I have to get the fuck out of here. Whatever happens, I have to get the fuck out of here mentality.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The closer they get, the more he needs to bounce. You know, those two things are in tension
Yeah.
with each other. And
Yeah.
so, you know, maybe if Ellie and Joel didn't get along, he'd be like, fine, I'll take you the rest of the way. Right?
Yeah.
If they didn't have a relationship that was improving and they were growing closer and it was more strangers, right? I think that might have been the case if, like, it's hard to say how things would be different if Tess had lived, right? But maybe that would have been like Ellie got closer with Tess rather than Joel, and then maybe then the entire journey is fine. He's fine with it. He's like, if we lose her, you know, it's just a job, like he said in the beginning, right?
yeah.
It's just another
It's
delivery.
just cargo.
Yeah. But that, you know, the cards fell a lot of different ways. And it turns out that these two people, you know, have a lot or have grown together, have experienced a lot together and grown as people together. You know, so
Yeah.
now he's feeling tense about that. It's like, shit, I don't want to care because when I do, bad things can happen. It's a protection. It's more armor. It's more armor to put up.
Yeah. It's self what are the self
Preservation.
Yes, thank you. It's self-preservation. Yes, you got me. But and yeah, Tommy and Joel's history. So we've mentioned how there's a lot going on that we don't know about. But when it comes to Tommy's comment of I have nothing but nightmares from those days and how their surviving was not worth it. So those are, you know, those words clearly upset Joel, who is a survivor to his core at this point in his life. But let's talk about what that might mean for the years that they were together. And I feel like we've kind of ping-ponged a few things throughout
Sure.
the game. But what nightmares do you think Tommy is talking about specifically?
You know, when we were in the suburbs, Joel said, like, you know, the food started running out and you saw what people were really capable of.
Yeah.
I think everything that Joel says like that, it's like has a little bit of, you could also say, when I ran out of food, then I knew what I was capable of. You know what I'm saying? Like when he speaks in generalities, I also think that he's speaking from a personal level as well. So it could have been like, we killed people for food, like not to eat people, but like they had food and we didn't. So we killed them so that we could have food. Right. Yeah. And I think that's it. Like right or wrong, we did what needed to be done to survive. And I think that, you know, Joel might see that as a kind of an absolutionist thing, like it was us or them, right?
Yeah.
But maybe not Tommy feeling the same way about that, especially being younger, and really only like it's like the only person I know that's alive. So I'm going to stick with this guy.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's happening, even if it's like horrifying to behold.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what it is. Like, it seems like Joel and Tess got into some sketchy shit. But prior to that, the time that Tommy and Joel were together, I really do think it was a very much like, whatever your analogy is, battle royale, Hunger Games, whatever the situation is for survival of the fittest for you, that's what Tommy's referring to. Like, I can't believe we like killed a whole family to get like a can of beans or something like that. So
yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things where it's like I again, it's all fiction, but I know that is a part of Joel's history, but it's like you have to understand that that's what would fucking happen.
Yeah.
And it comes down to you or them. And most people, I'd say 99.9% of people would choose themselves over them. So
yeah, well, that's what I think. I think Tommy is that 1% where he says it's not worth it. Like I would have rather died than have to live with what I have to live with. Right. So I think that's the big, I mean, there are a lot of differences between the brothers, but that is one defining characteristic of Tommy is like, like a moral,
like, do the ends justify the means?
Yeah, I don't want to say like a moral compass because, like, you know, it's Tommy. You also kill a lot of people, or Tommy kills a lot of people.
He's a fucking sniper. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, so I mean, for what he believes to be good, so there is some justification there, whereas I feel like Joel, at least previous Joel, the Joel that Tommy is referring to, is like, doesn't matter if they're good people or bad people. They have a thing that we need, so we got to get it, right? Yeah. And we could do this the hard way or the easy way. And it sounds like most of the time it was the hard way.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
I really would. I would love to have a DLC, a long 15 to 20 hour, which is a game, the Last of Us game. A long 15 to 20 hour.
I'd love to have like a DLC, but like a long one. So like one that takes 4 to 5 years, fully voice acted, full motion capture, but just like a DLC, like a little big DLC.
I'm not asking for much.
You could reuse the same engine. You have all the voice actors.
Yeah.
But just write a brand new script, release it at full price.
I'll pay for it.
PS5 only.
I'll pay for it. I literally just spent $96 on a bottle of fucking whiskey that I'm not going to drink, by the way. I don't drink whiskey. You do. that just because it's Last of Us themed.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to try it. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll have a live tasting. I'll do.
Yeah.
Do some
maybe
sips
we
on
should
stream.
buy 2 bottles because I kind of want one that we don't open.
Wow. What is the point?
I don't know. Okay, anyway. So last section. Okay, it's fighting time, and this is fairly involved sequence, depending on how you go about it. But since I'm on easy, I'm just going to use all of my game modifiers and blow through it with explosive hours and get to the final cutscene. But we work our way through the turbine engine room, the control room, the bridge, and where we initially came in from, to an additional office area where we find Maria and Ellie eventually. But don't forget to grab the schematics artifact in the control room, though, the one with the workbench, because that is part of your trophy hunt. But before the cinematic begins, there's a notice of inspection posted on the wall. And of course, I'm just jumping all through the fighting because it's just, however you do it, you do it. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. But
Kill 'em all.
before that cutscene triggered, I was actually able to run over to the wall. Ellie was still in the room. I was on the opposite end, and I photo moded real quick. And interesting detail.
All
I
right.
don't know if you saw this,
No.
but there was a notice of inspection posted on the wall, and the excellent compliance is checked off, meaning the dam is doing great.
Sure.
By an authorized representative named Tony Schmidt. And so I went to Google. I couldn't find anyone at Naughty Dog with that name. But if you are at Naughty Dog, Tony Schmidt, and I just somehow missed you in the Google search engines, I apologize. However, Tony Schmidt had inspector notes that said no fungus on July 27th, 2012, which is a year and 4 months before the outbreak in September of 2013. So
Yeah.
what the fuck does that mean?
I just wanted to, because I did a quick Google search of this because I had a thought about it, and I think this backed it up.
Okay.
When I think it's fungus. I think it's the water that exits the dam can become contaminated because of all of the stuff that it travels through.
Yeah.
So I think a dam that is operating well has no fungus, which means it's not causing negative environmental impacts downstream.
Got it.
For drinking, well, not drinking water, but like for the animals and stuff, like for fish.
Wildlife populations.
Exactly.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Maybe dams were the problem. Maybe Tommy's Dam was the point of outbreak.
Maybe it was. Maybe we just
a
fucking
year
cracked the
after,
code.
maybe that inspector did not come back within the next year, and the fungus from this dam.
It just grew wild and crazy. Well, but therein lies the issue with the date, because there's only that date from July 27th, 2012, and no others. So by the time the outbreak happens on September 27th, 2013, and it is September 27th, not the 26th,
What?
because Joel's birthday was the 26th, and it was 2 a.m. when Sarah died. And I'll fucking fight everyone with this. It was September 27th, 2013.
But the outbreak was happening on the 26th. It just hadn't reached them yet, right?
Yeah, there were news articles and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it was it was after midnight on the 27th that
I'm
everything
just
broke
being
down.
pedantic.
I know
I
you
don't
are.
really.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's like outbreak, period. Like outbreak
time.
plus minus 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah, but that also goes back to a conversation we had on a listener artifact episode from forever ago, talking about locations and where fungus and mycelium and things like that would grow in abundance. And by a dam in Jackson, Wyoming, abso-fucking-lutely. So
Sure.
No one coming out in a year and 3 months or 4 months, 2 months would. That's a little sus.
There's an article here from the Washington Post. Rare fungus that infects humans found in Beaver Dam.
What?
Scientists searching for a rare fungus that can infect human lungs and cause flu-like symptoms have found one of its hiding places. So I can't read the rest of the article. It's behind a paywall.
Oh, fucking.
I'm not paying the Washington Post shit. But if you do Google,
Interesting.
do dams have fungus?
Dude, damn. And apparently fungus that infects humans with flu-like symptoms, which, if you go back to the HBO trailer, there's that sign in the very beginning that it says cough, fever, blah blah blah. You know, like that's
Yeah.
motherfucking. I just
A
fucking
review
had
of-
that shit.
A UK article, a review of fungi in drinking water. Fungal species can become established on the inner surfaces of pipes, including interaction and reaction with sealings and coatings. Blah, 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 blah.
Gag. It's wonderful
saying.
and it's fascinating, but gag. All right, let's get there. So couldn't see much more than that before the cinematic takes over. So unfortunately, that was that. But we're gonna insert that cutscene here. Lots of cutscenes this episode.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Joel! Oh man, they were coming in from every direction. Then Maria was like, "We gotta run!" And so we dove over these tables, and this huge guy blasted with a shotgun.
Slow down. Listen, hey, are you hurt?
No.
God damn it. I need to talk to you.
Absolutely not. You tell him to go find somebody else.
Maria, I can't have this hanging over my head.
Do you have any idea how many men we lost here today?
Hey, what's that all about? Does that have anything to do with me?
Talk about it later.
Did he tell you where the lab is?
We'll talk about it later.
Later. Right.
It takes one fuck up. One fuck up, and then I turn into one of those widows, okay?
I have to do this. I don't know what else to say.
Fine.
Maria.
Here we go.
You. If anything at all happens to him, it's on you.
She's thankful, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I'll take that girl of yours to the Fireflies. You don't have to worry about it.
It's best this way.
Well, maybe some real good will come of this.
I need to talk to Ellie.
Say again, I didn't hear you. Joel!
Wait, what is it?
That girl of yours. She took one of our horses and rode off.
Damn it. Which way?
Come on.
I just saw her riding on out of here.
Go back inside. Help the others clean the place up.
Okay, be careful out there.
All right, so some thoughts. The relief on each of these people that their person is okay was very, very much felt in this moment, and I love it. Maria is openly relieved. Ellie is on an adrenaline high recounting the story, and Joel is just still kind of like, you know, trying to trample that worry. But Tommy sees it, and I wrote it all in caps. Tommy sees it. He sees why he has to take Ellie. And, you know, and from that moment, you know, he tells Maria, like, blah, 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 and then we're outside. And then Ellie asking Joel about the disagreement or, you know, the discord between Maria and Tommy, just being like, is that about me? And Joel just brushes her off. We see that intuition that we have seen and been talking about with Ellie from the start. Maria being angry, of course, a testament of her love for Tommy and her feelings towards Joel, in my opinion, are solidified here. I never felt that Maria really liked Joel. I think she just tolerated him for her husband's sake.
Sure.
In
the 10 minutes that she's known him.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm going forward to like part 2.
Oh.
Like even, you know, when Ellie is in Joel's house, and again, people will forget that I talk about it here, but when Ellie is in Joel's house and Maria shows up, like she's just like, my dumbass husband left. There's no remorse, there's no grief, there's no loss that she's experiencing over Joel. It's just, it almost seems like Joel's death was an inconvenience to Maria. And I think that that's cold as fuck.
You're as cold as fuck.
You're as cold as Maria. But yeah, anyway, but we'll talk way more about that in like many, many months from now. Okay. But the way that she says, and you is all I need to know about where this woman is at. Yeah. But Tommy relinquishes to, of course, finishing this mission, and Joel just, it's best this way, breaks me to a million pieces because no, it is not, Joel. And that's that for Tommy's Dam, the Hydroelectric Dam subsection of the fall chapter. So
Boom.
let's talk. This fight sequence is really, really good. It's quick, but it doesn't feel quick, especially if you're not playing on easy or normal. There are lots of areas to go and sneak around and just stealth your way through it to get that upper hand in the situation. But for me, it was one of the more enjoyable combat sequences in the game overall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I always like this one.
You are, it's one of those moments where you feel the game allows you to feel a little overpowered because of your arsenal.
Yes.
You just got El Diablo.
Yeah.
And throughout the course of walking from finding it to now, you're probably fully stocked on ammo for it. Mm-hmm. And if you hit the workbench, you might have like upgraded it once or twice as well. Mm-hmm. So like if it's like the chest or the head, it's a one hit, destroys whatever it hits, which is
wonderful.
Very, very satisfying.
Yes, I agree. And then, going on to Ellie's intuition, we've been saying this since back in the Barb co-host days.
Who?
Ellie's, hey!
I'm just, every time she comes up, I'm like, who?
But Ellie can read people and situations very well. And I don't think Joel gives her enough credit in this department. This is nothing new. But by the time he's ready to say goodbye to her, he doesn't anticipate what she does next in stealing the horse and taking off. However, she already anticipated what he was doing. So I love that kind of like, she's a little bit of like a cunning knowing to her, which always impresses me. But I would have liked to have seen how that conversation that he was going to have with her, the goodbye conversation, I wanted to see how that would have gone. And I know that people could make an argument that the ranch house conversation is close to what that would have been like, but I think that it's not quite the same. Because Joel was he was alone in that room talking with her, and she was alone in that room talking with him. So everything is on the line. Whereas, like, if he's in Jackson, they have a couple people milling about. They have Tommy, Maria, just kind of loitering. And I feel like he would have just been more apt to be like, this is how it has to be. I'm sorry, I have to go. It would have been easier for him. Yeah. But yeah, the emotional tension is just, like, so high, and we are ramping up to the ranch house, and I can't wait to talk about that. But why would it be best for Joel? Where would he have gone? What would he have done? And we talked about this, but I don't think for 1 second that he'd be able to live with himself if he knew Ellie was killed in that hospital. Like, if Tommy allowed that to happen, I think he would have honestly, and I know this is grim, but I think that he would have unalived himself if he found out that not only Ellie was dead, but that his brother let it happen. That would have been irreparable damage to their relationship and to his life. So, one, do you agree with that? Or two, let's say Ellie didn't have to die and he finds out that, she made it. She's fine. Like, what would he have done? Where would he have gone? I just what meaning? I don't know. I just can't see. It's like, the Mothman prophecies is like, you can see just a little farther down the road. I try to do that with The Last of Us, and I fucking can't when it comes to this point. Because everything is just so permanent of what happens on their journey for me that it's like, to even look beyond that, it gets cloudy.
Yeah. I think Joel probably would have just wandered around, like the Highlander, just wandered around the earth. Just from one point to the next. I don't know if he ever would have seen Tommy again. I don't know. I think that association of like the handoff would have been like, all right, this is also, I'm saying goodbye to her, but I'm also saying goodbye to you. It looks like you've got a great wife and this life that you've established, and I don't want anything to do with that. So I'm out, and that's it. And he walks off into the sunset.
It's so sad.
Yeah, that's kind of where we, at this point, in this mindset, that's what I feel like Joel is up to or feeling like, you know, is he going, he's clearly not going back into a QZ, right? Mm-hmm. Even though he has the means and the ability to make that happen for sure. Yeah, that's kind of it, you know, just walk the earth, maybe start a little farm because he's out, you know, he's out in Wyoming.
Yeah.
You have to assume just based on population density numbers, fewer raiders, fewer infected. So there is that. Or maybe he lives like an outlander, like Esther, who we talked about, where he's like, there's Jackson. I don't want that. Don't need that. But I'll live 3 hours away by horsey, you know, one of those situations.
So kind of like what Dina and Ellie do towards the end of part 2. Yeah. Oh my God, that makes me so fucking sad. I mean, sometimes I wonder like what's more sad. I don't want to talk about that. We'll get to.
Okay, you got to stop jumping ahead.
I know.
No more time jumps.
I know. Sorry.
Nothing exists beyond Tommy's Dam right now.
I did write a note about something I want to talk about specifically in the ranch house, but I'll save that for
400 episodes.
No, in one episode from now.
Okay.
But that is the end of Tommy's Dam, the hydroelectric dam. Where are you at emotional toll, Andrew?
This was sad.
Yeah.
Let's go with 7.
Damn. All right. I'm a 9. This is a fucking 9 for me. It was just.
That's pretty low for you, actually. Remember the bottom of the lowest it goes for you is 7. And it goes up to 25, I believe. So.
No. Yeah. I mean, everything that we've talked about, Tommy and Joel's meeting, the grave outside of the dam, even the high emotional moment, like the teamwork high five, and you know, and just it was just an incredibly emotional chapter. It was a dialogue heavy chapter. It was relatively short in the game, but here we are at 2.5 hours because it's just, you know, this is why we're here. This is, you know, and not next week, but the following week, the ranch house chapter is going to be probably equally as long because we're getting into the shit now, you know, like we've been in the shit, but we're in the shit now.
Yeah. The season is shorter, but it's deeper.
Yeah.
Shorter, but deeper.
Yeah. Fully. The impact of fall is enormous. So yeah, that's why we're here. Would you have survived this?
Yes.
Oh, we got a yes. I'm fucking saying yes too.
Wow.
I have the El Diablo. Let's go, bitch.
Yes, I would have died. You didn't let me finish. I know. Yes, because no infected, 0 infected.
Yeah, 0 infected
that we have encountered.
Just bandits.
And the bandits, you are on a team for that. Mm-hmm. It's not like Joel. I mean, it might as well be, but because they're all like, what are we dealing with? A bunch of fucking stormtroopers here. It's like, where are you shooting at? Yeah. Steve? What the fuck? They're this way. But yeah, I feel pretty confident about this one. There was ample cover. I was, if I was Joel, I had bullets for days, essentially. Like nothing was stopping me. Mm-hmm. And El Diablo, real game changer there. So yeah, finally, I would have made it.
Yeah, there we
would
go.
have died many times up to this point, but I would have made it through this.
Finally. Oh my gosh. All right. So just last few things, our social media and contact details. You can follow us on Twitter at TLOU Podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Wayfaring Strangers. And that's Wayfaring without the G. You can email us directly if you'd like to be featured on an upcoming email bonus show. And you can do that at tloupodcast@gmail.com. We love our emails, Andrew. And
why'd you call me out? I only comment on the length and quantity of the emails. I give no opinion for or against them. I'm for them, by the way. But I do also, I note the the length of the emails
Fair enough.
and the quantity.
You know what? Fair enough. All right. And if you would like to, get access to our Discord, our exclusive episodes, some video things that we have dropped through the months, pre and post show audio.
Yeah.
You'll have access to the Wayfair and West episodes like a full week before everybody else. You can go to coffee.com, and that's ko-fi.com/TLOU podcast. Our next episode will be next week, and it will be a bonus show tackling more listener emails and a potential listener artifact episode. We'll see. We'll see where we are at with time. Last few announcements. Special shout out to our coffee patrons, our coffee subs, Mr. Joel, Mari, Kelsey, Brian, Dave, Jim, Zach, Jamie, and Alice Dartwood, who gave such a generous donation to us. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for supporting Wayfair and Strangers. It is really, truly the best feeling in the world as podcasters and content creators. So there will be a Wayfair and West episode soon, and you guys will have access to that first, and then everybody else the following week on our YouTube channel and the podcast feed, as well as the upcoming website, which is still in the works. We're just really fucking slow with that, and by we I mean me. But thank you to the lovely response to the show. If you like this, again, please feel free, and we'd love it, to recommend to a fellow Last of Us friend or a video game person in your life that might enjoy it. Andrew, take it home.
I never look at these beforehand because they're at the bottom of the document. So here we go. Until we are severing the heartstrings that shall pull no matter how hard we fight to free ourselves of them again next time, Jackson. This is where we trot off into the unknown.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great week, and we'll talk later. Bye.
Magic.